we have a lot of teachers here from with different experiences, so it would be great to hear and to to see what you think about teaching low levels. By far, according to the majority of you, the most difficult levels to teach are the beginners, right? So hello to everyone: Anna, Brent, Edward, Emma, Ermila, Jazz, Johanna, Jonathan, Mari Carmen, Maria, Paz, Sandra, Sarah, and Simo. Simo for the first time with us. So hi to you.
Good morning.
Hi. Okay, guys. So
Good
yesterday I
morning.
was sharing a couple of articles. Don't know if you had the chance to take a look at them.
Yeah, I tried to download that one from the
It was just a
Times.
link. It was just a well, a couple of links just to reflect a little bit on teaching low levels. So who has experience in teaching low levels here? No one?
Well, I do for sure.
In Oxinity, I have known. In Oxinity, I have known. But in my regular classes, yes, I do.
Yes? Great. Fantastic.
I do have experience teaching low levels.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the complexities, if at all, on teaching low levels. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to just start with some questions for debate, and but we're going to elaborate on these points. Yeah. So, what is the most important challenge of low level students? What is it? The one challenge or challenges?
Making them
Well, I think the first.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah, go
Emma.
ahead.
And their attention.
Their attention.
Mm.
But are
Yeah.
you thinking of kids or adults?
Kids maintaining their attention.
Uh-huh.
That's the one challenge that I say.
Okay. All right. Jazz, what do you think?
I think with the adults, just making them understand straight away. And sometimes they think they understand, and repeating it. Because they might be nervous and say, yes, I get it. And then you realize they don't get it.
And what is your stance there? What do you do? How do you realize then that they don't get it?
Because they have a blank face, or they say yes. And you
All
think,
right.
so
So,
you have to go back and repeat it.
okay. What do you repeat? What do you repeat? A question or a statement?
A question. The same topic, but a different question related to it, or give them a different example. Like I had this yesterday. I've only had 3 lessons, and I mentioned the word handshake.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me, the handshake, and I thought, oh, it's like milkshake, but it's 2 different compound words. But handshake, and you had, when you meet someone, you greet them. Ah, okay.
Okay.
So I think for personally, not to assume that they know the words, which I don't know how the others feel. Yeah.
Yeah, Anna, what do you think?
Sorry, I was going to say as well, just asking concept question CCQs is really the way to make sure that they understand what you said. Because otherwise, if you ask them a question and they say yes or no, you don't really have an understanding. But if you actually ask them a concept checking question, then you can gauge if they understand or not. That's what I tried.
Yeah, that's a way. That's a way. Anna, you have something to comment?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges, especially in my case, is to use only English in the class with S1 students. Sometimes it's really difficult, and we as teachers, we have just to use only English as simple as possible, but never translate. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that many teachers make when they teach low levels, probably.
And why? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, if you start translating, then you don't make the student think, right? Then the student just accept the material, and the student had this type of feeling that he has to learn this word because it was said by the teacher, and he starts kind of translating everything that he knows in Spanish into English, and this sometimes makes no sense. For the classical example would be the Spanish student. They always say, I have 20 years, right? I am 20 years. So when we make them translate, or when we translate, then we kind of create this bad habit of translating that would actually have some negative consequences when they reach higher levels.
Such as?
For example, if they start, a lot of students, they may have really rich vocabulary, a lot of words, but then when it comes to using the sentences and when it comes to using words in a sentence, then sometimes they may struggle because they would translate all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I like it. I like your reasoning, and I wonder, how do you go about not translating?
Well, again, very simple English. I mean, sometimes if you need to make a question to ask one student, you know that question should start with, do you have, I don't know, lesson today?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's even better to say, you have lesson today, this type of thing, that sometimes we need to omit some proper English when it comes to understanding, right? Even though we try to create this behavior of correct English, but sometimes it's better to make them understand with omitting some English grammar rather than translating.
Mm-hmm.
Example, then again, gestures, all type of cognates, all type of, I don't know, face expressions, different examples, associations, whatever you can come up with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me ask something that Jess mentioned, which got me intrigued. Yeah, she said that she had to change the pace of her explanations. Yeah, so I was intrigued by that because I'm in two minds. I don't know. Do we have to actually change our pace, the pace that we use? How do we change our language? Is it in terms of our pace? Or maybe our instructions are different? What happens there? What do you think? Sandra, you raised your hand.
Yes. Well, I don't think you have. I don't think you have to lower your pace. I think you have to use simple words when you are talking to basic students. What something that it's true. It's that you learn, for example, for a book, and it's a very formal, and they pronounce things in a different way. But when you go to on daily basis, that you go to America, for example, and you go to New York, and you want to buy a ticket for the train, and you get that you cannot understand anything. Mm-hmm. So if you start not giving them the right speed of the language, then, and with different kinds of accents, they are unable to understand, even though they have high levels. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that you have to lower your pace. The thing is that you have to use simple words, and then little by little you go making them more difficult and more difficult every time until they get into a wide vocabulary that they know how to use it in context, and that they are able to recognize in the correct speed. Mm-hmm. when they encounter real situations in life.
What are simple words? You mentioned simple words. What are they?
Simple words. Well, more than simple is like you have to be very specific. Like, please open your book, or let's start with this, or when you teach, for example, Birdie, I am a teacher. Oh, I am Sandra. What's your name? Oh, I am Sandra. She's, no. And you have to be very specific with the language, little by little. That's what I mean. And your command has to be that way. And sometimes we teach that commands that you are going to use. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I think.
Thank you. That was brilliant. Mari Carmen and Olga have raised their hands. So go ahead, guys. Mari Carmen.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I agree pretty much with everything that's been said so far, but I would like to punctualize something, and it is that teaching lower levels, it does make a big difference, though, assuming the fact that there are common denominators there, but it's different to teach kids than adults. When we're talking about levels, a huge difference. For example, what we were saying about simple words, which is definitely required in order to teach low levels, I don't think we should use the same simple words for kids than for adults.
Of course.
The examples are going to be different. Even the way we praise them has to be different. So I think lower levels can be two different things, whether we're talking to adults or kids, and that's very, very important for the approach and for the activities as well.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of the activities, well, if you want to tell us what you would like to see in the activities, because we've spoken individually about that. But now that we have many teachers here and many of them producing activities, how would you like the kids' activities to be, actually?
Well, for example, I would like to point out the one thing when it comes down to, for example, a text. I think the kids' text need to be simplified way further, not only because of the content, but also because of what we're just saying now. We're talking about simplifying the vocabulary, the way we approach them. So obviously a text needs to certain requirements, but I believe that they can be simplified furthermore for kids, particularly. The pictures help adults as well, without a shadow of a doubt. But with kids, it's definitely the best tool for being able to explain things.
Steve is now on his way. He just wrote, but he's shared a wonderful resource for kids. For those who are creating activities for kids, very short stories around a picture, an image. So just very inspirational. He will share, I'm sure, or I will. But you mentioned something when we were talking. You mentioned something about the grammar. Let's mention it as well, because you had a point when we were talking about that activity about possessive. So can you explain to the guys?
Yes, well, there is. I don't remember right now the name of the activity itself, Radmila. I don't know if you do. Well, I have it written here somewhere. But when we were talking about pronouns and possessive pronouns and adjectives, there is an activity out there which was, well, first it had a little mistake, but that's okay because that can be arranged. But when it comes down to kids, if you want to throw out there to a 7-year-old kid, subject pronoun, possessive pronoun, and adjective, it's like, even for an adult, I found that activity for low-level adult, I find it a bit extremely challenging. And when things are extremely challenging, I think the whole class can go down. So I think with kids, it's much simpler. They know what a noun is. So we know what an adjective is. An adjective goes together with a noun. That's how we can put together the my car, for example, and with examples and pictures, as opposed to mixing up everything, the possessive pronouns, the subject pronouns, and it's like a cocktail for them. Very similar words. They have common ground as well. We have pronouns, possessive pronouns, that are the same as adjective pronouns. So it's very difficult to correct them and say, oh, I thought that was an adjective. Oh, I thought it was a pronoun. So there, I think it's super important to go by steps with just the one adjective. And then, a picture, of course, is extremely helpful for kids, but not mixing up everything together in the explanation. And that the challenge of the next exercise is chaos, I believe. I insist, for little kids.
Do you know why, for instance, do you know what grammar is? I know that I'm asking a very broad question to everyone, but do you know what grammar is in general? Grammar of a language is how language is structured, but grammar is also an abstraction. And guess who doesn't have abstract thinking? Kids. Therefore, trying to explain something abstract to a kid is a huge mistake. Yeah. So kids would get it. Kids would just get it because a language is acquired intuitively. So that intuition, it doesn't need to be explained. The intuition of how syntax works, for instance, word order. Yeah. Word order. Yeah. The fact that in Spanish is one way, in English is another. Kids get it. So the need of explaining that rule is pretty much zero. There is no need to explain in it. Yeah, they get it. But I like what you mentioned, because we have seen, and that's to me very difficult, and actually doesn't help the teacher, but creates an obstacle. That the first thing is try to explain what a subject pronoun is and what an object pronoun is, or adjective, or whatever. No need for that. Yeah, we go and just provide practice. Olga, I think you wanted to mention something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Sandra and Carmen were saying about how we can simplify the activities.
Yeah.
Sandra said that we should focus on simple words. I think including common words between Spanish and English or whatever their native language is another way of, you know, making them more familiar and confident in the language. So that can be an option. And another one, I was just doing some research, is that apparently maybe we can give them word lists before they come to the classroom, even if it is only 5 words, new vocabulary. They can find it on their own, what it means. They can ask their parents or check it in the dictionary, but that will be up to them. So the teacher wouldn't have to translate it during the classroom, and they will come with it takes only like 5 minutes for every person to, you know, check it. It's not like preparing for a full classroom or going through all the material, just a few words in advance to, you know, prepare them and expand their vocabulary.
It's this is a little bit well, in the ideal world maybe, but I wonder how many students would actually have that attitude, because they actually have the vocabulary that is going to be discussed in class. The target language is in the platform, yeah, and I wish they kind of had a look at it beforehand, because then they would recognize, identify, yeah. But I wonder up to what extent this is realistic, but just that, yeah. But what you said is similar words between English and Spanish. Do you know how many are there between English and Spanish?
I know there's a lot because I use them on a daily basis. They are my, like, you know, joker voice.
Absolutely. Yeah, they have to be one of those jokers. Yeah, number one, cognates at rescue. But do you know, are you aware of how many are there?
I don't know the number. No, I never.
Say a number. Just say a number.
I don't know. Thousands, 10,000s, more.
1,000, more or less, around 1,000.
Oh, yeah, that's quite a lot. So it can help them. It can help them.
Actually, it's a lot. This is a lot, and this is a big help. Do you know how many? That was actually, I don't know if Georgina is with us. No, she's not. But she raised she asked a question on LinkedIn, actually. How many words are necessary for basic? How was the question? That, let me just check it. The way she asked it, for acquiring a basic competence in English, how many words are necessary? Do you guys know? Do you have a guess?
I think it's 2,000, no?
2,000? Who says?
I think it's 3,000.
I think it's 3,000.
This is Simon.
Can you repeat the question? How many words are necessary to acquire a language?
A basic competence.
500.
500?
3,000.
3,000.
600.
I think it's 500. I've read about this before.
Okay.
If you know 500 words, you can actually communicate in a language at a basic level.
This is quite true.
According to my information, my previous.
All right. Okay, so at a low level, 500. If we have 1,000 cognates, imagine what that means is that our students know much more than what they think they know. Yeah. So that is a joker. Yeah. Who said 2,000? Simo, I think.
Yeah, bad guess, I guess.
Okay, what makes you think that?
Well, that's what I've heard, that in general, if you want to learn a language, you need with any language, approximately 2,000 words.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and do you know what we can express with that, with these two, or I'll increase it to 3,000 words. Do you know what we can express with that?
I suppose everything we need.
Pretty much, yeah. Turns out that it's pretty much 80% of the communicative needs that we have are covered with 20% of the vocabulary. Yeah, this is the so-called the Pareto principle. Do you know it? It doesn't matter, but it's quite used in linguistics and in language teaching to identify what are these words that students need to learn. By the way, so one of the people that had answered Georgina's question said, well, in Mexico, with 5 verbs and, I don't know, 10 words, we can express pretty much everything, which made me laugh. It's not, it's an exaggeration, but actually, if you think about how many are the essential functions that they need to learn, they're not so many. So maybe Olga is right to think that at a lower level, if if they master 500 words, they will be able to express quite a lot. Yeah, Mari Carmen, you raised your hand again, or that was
from before. Sorry, that was from
okay. Before. Or Ana Elena, is it you've raised it again, or that was from before?
It was from before, but it was just additional comment regarding the beginners activities, right? Just something to mention that whenever you create a beginner activity or low-level activity, try to avoid should have, would have, shall, have been doing something, and so on. Because sometimes it's really students do not understand why do we use have for verb, right? When it's not possession. So sometimes it really becomes difficult in a class activity, actually loses its sense, right? Because we just stuck on the question, why do we use have or why do we use would, and so on, you know. So sometimes there was a really great activity, not for kids, the beer yoga. I'm not sure who did that, but for me it was amazing in a way that it was presented in a very simple way. We focused on fluency, we focused on practicing the language, and there weren't, you know, complex grammar structures and so on. So that works. So it was really nice. And I wish all the activities were this way, especially for kids.
Okay, great. Johanna has a comment, maybe? Or a question? Hey, Johanna? I can't hear you.
Hello, how about now?
Now better, yes.
Oh, wonderful. Sorry. I was wondering if you could type in a chat, what was the principle called about how many words you need to know to express this and that. I found that quite interesting.
Yes, and what do you think? How many words are necessary?
I would say maybe 300 to kind of communicate on a very, very basic level.
Start producing. Okay, and how would you? Okay, so here's another thing. What should our approach be? Once that we have the number, how do we go about it? How do we teach it? Do we just teach lists of words? I would say this is quite, you know, meaningless. But how do we organize this vocabulary? Around what?
Good question.
Let's answer it. Olga? Or
I was muted, yeah.
I
guess that might depend on the goals of the student. If we have an adult student who is learning English for business purposes, for instance, the content would be different, and for kids it would be different. But I guess a starting point would be to organize it around the content. And for instance, one activity might be about traveling. You give some vocabulary there for the kids. And of course, key here is repetition, to include different activities, reading, writing, speaking, and so on, or filling the blanks and so on, where they would see the same, let's say, I don't know, 10 words about traveling a few times, because you need to see at least 7 times, I think, a new word in different contexts so that you can learn it, which will not be possible in the same class, of course, but it should repeat in the following classes once in a while so they can learn. But content is basically would be my suggestion.
Okay. How about you? Thank you, Olga. How about you, Ermila? What is your opinion?
I think the same as what Olga said in using it in the content. So if you're using a text, then identifying like words that you could switch to the cognates, to the common words in Spanish and English, so it's easier for them to understand the reading, and also identifying like the instructional verbs. So when you're giving instructions, maybe that could be the simpler words that you could use when giving the students any instructions or explanations.
That's the so-called classroom language, yeah? We call it classroom language, which is we use the same formulas so that they get used to them. Can you give some examples?
I guess like take it in turns or alternate. I don't know how to give a specific example.
Well, okay, imagine that you have students that speak nothing. So how would you, for instance, organize the turns?
I think I would just call out their names. So I'd say, I don't
There
know,
you are.
Barbara, can you read this, please?
Exactly.
And then when he finishes, then I'd say the other person's name, and then so on.
It's as simple as this. You just call their names. Yeah, as simple as this. No need to now take turns. And so, of course, if you repeat again and again, for instance, there was a teacher that back in the old times when we had when we worked in the same space, I would do my stuff and I would listen to the teacher's teaching. Yeah, and it was great for me because I was learning all the time. But there was a teacher that every time he wanted to switch turns, he would use over to you, over to you. Yeah, that's what you say, over to you. And he was using it to low levels, to high levels, and eventually, I myself that didn't know that expression as now it's your turn, I learned it. Yeah, so when you repeat the same classroom language, that is again something that they intuitively learn. You can use, of course, cognates will help you in this regard. For instance, if picture is at first, unknown, then image maybe comes at rescue. But eventually, the most commonly used verbs such as ask, answer, reply, or yeah, these are the words that they will acquire in the first place. Regarding content, Sandra was pointing something that I think is very interesting, and this is modeling. Yes, before asking a question, she would model the language. I think that we have to remember that because this is a very good way to kind of ensure that they are situated and they get the context. Yeah, so we don't ask before we model. At low levels, I'm talking about the lowest levels. And the very common mistake for teachers is sometimes asking something, assuming that they would understand the question. But it turns out that whenever we model the language first and then we ask the question, their response is much better, much faster, and more confident. Yeah, because you're the mirror that, or the person that models the language in the first place. So I really like that reflection of I model it first. Hello, my name is Sandra. What is your name? Definitely. Okay, what else can we use to teach low levels? Again, having to do with simple words. What is the simplest word that we're going to use again and again in these low levels? Can you think of it?
I suppose it's I, you, we.
Okay.
Prepositions.
Yeah, the pronouns.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Do you?
Say again.
Do you?
Do you? Do you? Yeah. Hi, Georgina. Do you is something that we use again and again. Yeah. But a word that they have to learn because that word is like substitutes pretty much all the nouns.
Me.
It.
Yes. It or this. It or this. So it all starts with it or this. This is a pen. This is a pen. What is this? This is a pen. Yeah. I have a pen. What do I have, or what do you have, or what do you want, or what do you need? This, and this is a pen. If you take that practice, first, let's say that whenever we, in this simple sentence, I have a pen, we have a function like expressing possession in this case, and an object. Now they may know how to express a function and not know necessarily the name of the objects, and vice versa. So it's very important when you teach, for instance, grammar functions like expressing possessions, expressing necessity, expressing likes and dislikes through very simple structures such as I like, I want, I use, etc., etc. It's very important when we focus on that to use things that objects in the most common context. For instance, what do people have in general? Yeah, what do we have? I know that we have many things, but what is something that we all need to express that we have? For instance, I have a family, I have, you know, some personal belongings, and these are the things that we're going to start explaining in the first place. Or what do I need? Or what do I want? Or what do I like? These are the things that we're going to start with. We are not going to start with something, probably with a handshake. We're going to start because it's part of the protocol, yeah, the greeting protocol, but it's not so likely that the word handshake appears in the first lessons, right? So maybe what we need to teach first are the most commonly used functions, and with them use generic words such as think, this, there, instead of specifics, and then little by little substitute all these generic words for the specific name of the object. Yeah, it's much better than just giving them a list of words. Learn all the personal belongings or objects related to whatever. Without a context, they mean nothing. They're just a list of words that they learn. For instance, learning a list of words is what they do at some language schools, such as very famous ones, such as Kitsanas. That's what they do. They learn. Sandra says yes. Yeah, they learn lists of words. Yeah. So what can they express? Pretty much nothing. Just vocabulary. Just nothing. Yeah. Okay. So remember, when we teach structures, we simplify vocabulary or we use cognates so that they acquire in a natural way the grammar functions or the structures. It's very important not to teach two difficult things at the same time, but only one. Yeah, one thing at a time. It's better. It's better. And what would you imagine that you're teaching something, a vocabulary, and then you think that it's important, but then your student doesn't get it. What do you do? What do you do, Georgina?
I got confused. I didn't get it. Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Imagine that you're teaching something.
Yes.
You're teaching something, and then your student just doesn't get it. What do you do?
Okay. Well, first of all, I try. I relax and I smile and I try. I try to explain maybe like the structure wise. I try to explain meaning wise. I try to give examples. I'm starting to use mime recently, and I have a little whiteboard for vocabulary, and I draw little things. And then if nothing works, I try to have them relax, make them like realize it's maybe not that big of a deal, and I continue. Honestly, that's what I do.
Who else does anything similar or different? Hazra, how about you?
Yes, hello everyone. Yes, what I like to do is I like to show them pictures or video right away. For example, if there's a word they don't understand, so I show them in the, on YouTube or where. So it's a better idea for them to see and to learn something. This is my way. This is what I like to do. Mm-hmm. So it's more easy to understand, So I think so.
Yeah. Okay. How about Jazz? Did you raise your hand or that was from before? From before.
Before, yeah.
Okay. All right. How about the rest of you guys? So for instance, how about you, Brandon? How do you go about a student not understanding something? I don't know if you can hear us, or Edward.
Hi, everybody. Sorry.
Hello.
Hi there. Well, I believe that we have direct and indirect communications, and it's very important to use all of these aspects. For example, if a person, since we have a virtual or not an interface communication right now because of the COVID-19, gesture is always helpful. Making them understand your faces, for example, your facial expression is also going to be helpful. And of course, as much as you want to mention every word, if the person doesn't understand you at the end of the day, why would you even repeat that all over again? Sometimes repetition is exhausting and you don't want to exhaust your resources. Yes, you have to maximize your resources, but you don't want to exhaust it. So if I would probably choose a simple words now in a couple of minutes, I would transition it to much, how do you call it, relatable to the person, because of course, as a teacher, you have to also study your student, the culture of your student, where is she from, where is he from. So it's also important to know a little bit of their culture. So simple, translating their language to English from that point, I think it could also help you, during the translation process. Yeah.
Edward, when do you expect your student at a very low level to start producing language?
Well, of course, it's always depending on the student and the way the drive of a student is. Of course, as a teacher, you're the one who's supporting them. So, of course, every student has different stage and different level of understanding. Of course, in one classroom, you have one or two or three who have faster in way of their communication, and two or three don't have that kind of level. So, of course, as a teacher, you can't just predict that you have to generalize the things. You have to also have a personalized or tailored way of communication between you and that specific student who doesn't learn that fast as the other students in the classroom. So of course, it depending on the examples that you're going to show them. Of course, pictures would help. A song can help. A poem can help, and in your personal experience can also help. All of these factors can help you.
Do you speak slower to some people and at a normal pace to the others?
If it's necessary, yes, of course, I do.
Does it make any difference?
It's very effective, honestly. Why? Because it's communication. Communication for me is not just about words and language. It also consists of your gestures, your facial expressions, your actions, of course. It's not about just a language can transmit a proper communication. Of course, facial expressions would also help you out.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. No, that was great. And Mari Carmen, you've raised your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that sometimes when they don't understand something you've explained, especially for kids, they get caught in there. So it's like a buckle. So I think sometimes the approach that helps is to get them out completely of that state and re-explain it in a total different way. Because the tendency of being caught in your brain with your structure, whatever they've understood, doesn't allow them to get out. So I think taking them out of there and explaining it in a total different way. Now, if that happens 3 times, then I agree with Georgina. You have to move on because you can't be the whole class with the same thing, right? But I think just that's one tip to get them out of their structure.
Yeah, absolutely. And what happens is that sometimes what you're trying to explain again and again, they don't get it. You move on. In this case, Georgina, I agree with you. You move on. Yeah, that's what I would do. And then sometime later, you realize that they got it. Now they got it. What happened? Probably we changed the context. The context helps a big deal. Definitely. So sometimes.
That's why. Sorry, Radmila. That's why I believe that out of the 3 parts of the class, the structure needs to be simplified the most. Like we were saying before with the possessive, for example, it's not necessary for a 7-year-old kid, to know the possessive adjectives, I believe, yet. So that part of the structure, just with the examples, with pictures, when it's a boy, his, when it's a girl, her, without having to mention possessive adjectives, etc. So that that's why I believe the most delicate part of teaching a kid is the structure, because it needs to be really, really simplified.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree with you. That's great. And Sandra, you have a comment to make?
Yes, I have 2 comments. You asked several minutes ago about when do you think your students can speak? When I think the first class, depending on the aims. If my aim is that my student says at the end of the class, my name is Sandra and I am 50 years old, they are going to be able to say that because I'm going to work on that. So and it's also a matter of achievement. They have to have this sense of achievement. You're going to learn this, and when you leave the class, at least you can say that thing to communicate. So I think it depends very much in the way that you plan your classes and what you want them to be able to do at the end. It could be as simple, my name is Sandra, and that is, but it's the first thing that they said in English. So I don't expect them in the very first class that they tell me, a speech about who they are. But I little by little want them to tell the things that I'm teaching in a very specific way in order that they have this sense of achievement. According to, and the second thing that I want to talk about is when a student doesn't understand what you do, what you're explaining, and you try, I move on. I continue, because sometimes you get stuck in present simple. They don't get it, that they have to use this auxiliary that they don't need they don't use it in their first language, to say it that way. But then when you get into the past, but it happens to me once, when I got into the past, the student said, oh, and I understand do and does. So sometimes you have to move on. You explain it several times in different ways, and suddenly it stays there. And that's it.
Yeah, great, fantastic. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. I also think that we have to challenge them, and we have to understand that there is sometimes can happen. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand. And we then challenge them, and then we move on. We just move on. Okay. After a while, yeah, we go back, and surprise, they get it. Very few people do that, but it's a great practice. It's brilliant. Yeah. Sometimes it takes, sometimes we want quality to happen up front, but they need quantity. Maybe they need to work it out. They need to work it out intuitively. And it doesn't happen immediately. Sometimes we need to move on and then to move back, and it's there. It's magic. So if you understand that these moments are there and students have to have them, yeah, these are the great teachers. These are the great teachers. So a great teacher is not the teacher that insists until they get it, no matter what. No, a great teacher is the one that understands that sometimes it's all right not to understand. It's all right not to produce. But also, if you can, have this sense of achieving something, you've achieved to introduce yourself. Great. Now you have the function number 1, by excellence or by far. Function number 1 that everyone has to learn is to introduce yourself in a language, in a different language. If they do that, you've succeeded. So those teachers who understand that it's not, we don't teach until they get it, but until that, but we challenge, and then eventually we go back and we check, and the magic is there. These are the best ones. And those who don't surrender and then give them the easy fix, which is exactly the translation. Yeah. So I like that idea very much. I just wanted to stress it, that this is when you reach that point is when you've reached mastery. I just wanted to stress it because sometimes a pill of translation, I call it a pill here and there, makes it, easier for the moment. We provide a short-term solution, but what Anna said at the beginning, it actually has an effect on higher levels. Yeah, and this effect, I was asking, can you elaborate? And I asked her for a reason, because the effect is I'm getting used to the fast fix, the strategy of today, not the strategy of tomorrow. Yeah, and when we get the students to actually work meaning or work the structure of the new language on themselves, then that learning stays. That's brilliant. Yeah. Georgina, you have a point as well? You have something? to mention?
No, just a little thingy. Just a little thingy. No. But I've been working in what I call traditional academy for 3 years, and there it's grammar. But I found myself here one day trying to explain something to a student, and I was talking about like modal verbs and third person. And at one point he said, Georgina, it's been a long time since I studied like this. So really, I think I've never said the word auxiliary anymore. I've never said the word modal anymore. And I don't know how I do it, but maybe presenting the model is what works best, because I'm starting to figure out if I say all these like technical words about like technical parts of the language, it doesn't really work and it doesn't really matter to them in a way. It doesn't really, So just this thing that I'm doing, and it works. Like today I was telling the student, like we're learning must, can, could. I didn't even say the word modal. I was like, think, what does it mean like this? What does it mean like that? And that's just the way I'm teaching this. And,
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay, and do you have the feeling that they get it? I guess so.
Perfectly.
Yes.
It's a very like a magical thing. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, these are so valuable testimonials. If you can, I mean, don't listen to me, listen to Georgina, listen to Sandra, listen to Mari Carmen. These are the things that I would love you to remember from this talk. Yeah, exactly this. We think that we are good teachers if we know the grammar well. Up to a certain extent, that can help us. I know. Up to a certain extent, it can be even necessary. I know. But then we are greater if we forget about it and think of what the student needs to learn and how to achieve it. This is it. Yeah. So modals and auxiliaries, these are abstract things for grammarians. I love them. But we don't speak with them. I mean, we speak if we need to understand them, to grasp them, to master them in a conversation, not to know what they are. So brilliant. Yeah. I really appreciate this. You mentioning this from the perspective of teaching in an academy and just teaching. Yeah. Mari Carmen has raised her hand again. Go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to ask for a bit of help here because of a situation that happened the other day with kids. It was a three kids class, and there's this little girl that has someone next to her. I'm not sure if it's her father or her mother, but when I try to engage her, she whispers at her to ask for the answer. She in Spanish, and then she comes back to me, and that's never happened to me before. So I was really caught. I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to interrupt the class or speak to the other mother when the other two kids are there. Maybe if she had been on her own, I would have said, don't ask your mother, listen, or this, or I'll help you, or let's figure it out. But because there were two other kids, I thought it wasn't the moment, especially when we have 30 minutes. And I was really caught there, not knowing what to do. And she kept doing that. Anybody has any suggestions there?
I've heard that from Emma, well, not Emma Lennington, but another teacher. Yeah, same situation. Have you had that experience? The rest of the teachers?
I had the same. I had this. Maybe I've got the same. I had the same student as Mari Carmen because I had exactly the same situation a couple of times.
And what did you do?
I just carried on. I mean, at the end of the day, there's not much you can do. Tell the mother to go away. I mean, they're paying for the class, but I think that like maybe afterwards, maybe we feed that back to you, and then somebody speaks to the parent. That'd probably be the.
I think we can do that and just explain the mom to, hey, it's all right. They will learn. Don't worry. Maybe the kid goes to her mom in an attempt to gain confidence, but they will get it anyways. Yeah. So we'll just let us know who that student is. We'll call them. Yeah. Okay. What else, Sandra? You wanted to mention something or that was from before? No? Okay. No worries. Okay. So, guys, any other consideration on teaching low levels or questions? Paz, go ahead. Paz?
Sorry, yeah, I was having my orange here. Few things. We don't have to get out of the picture that our students are Spanish. They're sick of grammar. They're sick of exercises of, filling gaps and all that. So anytime, please, that we do activities, that we create activities, just pictures, and that, and what's the objective? What is the aim of the whole activity? And just create that, because, there is no point on written text for kids.
Absolutely.
That's not what we're here for. That's not our model anyway. Just one word, maybe. Target language, maybe. Second, it helps me to encourage the student to make the target language theirs. What I mean is, if just try to produce examples that are meaningful for them. Yesterday, for example, I was with this activity with vocabulary on open-minded, like describing people like pot-bellied and things like that. And I encourage them to think of someone that he knows or they know, and try to, because it's the only way they're really gonna and not just understand, but also to retain, to maintain whatever the target language or whatever. Just try to say something that is meaningful for them, right? On examples or on anything. Anybody that is open-minded, just give me an example, of why do you think it's open-minded? And then that's, and third one, the context on kids is basic. Is it's not only if I'm talking, I don't know, if we're learning about some and any, and then just play shops, just play restaurants, just play pizza ordering, and from the very beginning, ring, how can I help you? Yes, I'd like to order 2 pizzas, please. What size would you like? Large, small, and you can, so there's so many things that we can work, not just, give them any explanation of grammars. They got that on the schools. They're sick of that, They got nothing but that in schools all the time, and they're still with the same language problems. So, yeah, we really have to offer something different in terms of how to deliver the classes, how to create activities, and that's it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love it because all of you were very helpful to each other. Georgina, yes, please go ahead.
No, it's just a little thingy, like technically, I read yesterday the articles that you sent, and it's something that I do in lower levels. I talk very fast, but I'm working on that. But sometimes they ask me to type.
Mm-hmm.
So then, and the article said yesterday, okay, if they don't understand, it's good to type, because then they're hearing and reading at the same time, and they can relate how words sound. So I'm trying to be very strict, like, no, I'm not typing. Just listen to me.
Exactly.
But then, on the other hand, they're like, what? Today was born. She didn't understand what born was. Like, como que no? Bueno, born. When were you born? July. Ah, yeah, born. Yeah. So maybe she didn't get my pronunciation. I don't know. Yeah. So I was asking all of you if you think it's fine to type in some occasions, or should I avoid that completely?
Don't write, don't type. It's unnecessary. I asked you to read these 2 articles because they follow the, let's say that the common tradition in teaching without questioning certain practices. Yeah, especially the first article. It was, oh my God, I was thinking it's completely the opposite. I was thinking, yeah. So I don't think that we have to take every single thing. Why typing? How can typing? What does typing bring? What does it bring?
I mean, for me, the only thing it brings, and what's maybe it has nothing to do with this, but what it brings that they start realizing how the sounds are produced, because sometimes like the EA, right? That those two letters, they have like 5 different sounds or 4, I don't know. So when I write and they listen to me, they start or the ED at the end of words, right? They start really understanding how those letters sound.
Mhm.
It's only for that. It's
So,
only for that. So it's more for reading skills, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So some time ago we made that experiment with Sam, and he's not here, by the way. And I wanted to, I hoped that he was here because I had a message for him. But I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But we had that experiment with about writing and pronunciation, and it was more targeted at correct reading and writing, actually. Yeah. So whenever we do activities like that, it really helps them to understand how the sound system is represented in a written way in English. Yeah, because it's not phonetic. So it really helps them. Again, cognates at rescue. You can use them all the time to illustrate, but this is another thing. When we're teaching something, I was born, and they don't get it, they won't understand it because you type it. Yeah, so the meaning of it doesn't depend on the written part of it. Now, yes, maybe you will say, yeah, but they have to be able to write, and I agree. So,
Sorry. It's not that she didn't know what born was. It's like she didn't understand what I was saying. Like she didn't understand the orange thing. I don't know.
Yeah, but what you did is exactly what made her understand. You just provided a different context or example, so she understood, right? So I don't think, and I sometimes see that teachers type while teaching, and it's absolutely, meaningless. There is no value in it. Actually, the class goes great without this part, without typing. Typing is kind of, it's like when we study, we think that if we have a pen, we learn better, and it's not true. This is just to fidget with it. Yeah. So learning happens without it. Who raised their hand? Olga and Olga and before.
I did. Sorry, from before, but because I type quite a lot, because for some reason there are some students that have no idea what I'm saying, and I feel like a normal-ish British accent, but I've had, I think, some students who are used to being taught in American English, and they literally do not understand what I'm saying when I say, "When are you born?" Born. And then I write it, and born. That's what I said.
But then model it first. Yeah, say I was born on that date. Yeah, and then what about you? When were you born?
Yeah.
They will get it.
Yeah.
Olga, how about you?
I just wanted to contribute to what Georgina and Emma just said. I mean, also, well, it might be because they don't really understand what you're saying, and when they see it, they understand it. But I think it's also a bit of a habit of us teachers who have experience, especially teaching in person physically in classrooms. I always use the board. I never go and write all the time, but you always have a board mark in your hand, and whenever there's a difficulty, you just write it on the board, and then it's clear. So I think it's a bit of an old habit that we sort of integrate into online teaching also.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But it's good that you realize that it's something from it's an old habit. Actually, it's a habit. Yeah, it's not something that we just do it because we've done it before, and we still think that it's necessary when it's not. Actually, there was one teacher that always gives that example with the word powerful. Yeah, I may not pronounce it as Emma, but I try powerful. And then the student didn't get it, no way, so they didn't understand once and again powerful. And then he wrote it on the board, and the student said, powerful. Yeah, but this is not English. Yeah, this is what it writes, but it's not what we say. Yeah, so don't type, no need, really, unless sometimes they don't get, for instance, is it 3 or free? Yeah, okay, so in this case, is it S or whatever, F or T or whatever? Okay, yeah, fine, but not because they don't understand your British pronunciation, really. They will get used to it. Okay, well, our time is over, but I just wanted to finish by saying, first of all, many thanks for all your experiences, because this is exactly how this, well, Oxinity was born, exactly that way, teachers talking about education. Many thanks. It was just great. I hope we have helped the newest teachers or the less experienced teachers, and even though that have more experience, but maybe today they heard just different stories and different experiences. So I hope it was helpful. I really enjoyed it, and I really thank you
Very
for that.
helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Bye. Have a nice weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.